So there are a few sentences towards the end of the section. We'll quickly go to them again before we move to the next section. A curse is laid on the pure joy of life, the curse of falsehood. Now, this phrase, curse, is laid. A Puritan god, red drug, sin. Actually, they form one particular description in the Christian tradition of mysticism. What is the curse? It is for this, because of this curse, that Christ had to get crucified. Puritan god, because of its curse. Red drug. You are a formalist. There used to be kind of pellets made in red color. In the 18th century, 17th century, small pellets were made in red color. And when you take that tablet, it's a kind of a drug. You get intoxicated, you have different kind of experience like that, you see. So, all these phrases, you're familiar with that? No, yeah, now we have got different types, you see. Yeah. Yeah. So red drugs, sin, child, all these things belong to that particular period of strange Christian mysticism, you see. And Savitri is of course familiar with that. She is telling it to Yama, to death, that after all, life is something which is really very pure, full of joy and all that, but there is a curse laid on it, curse due to the falsehood, and therefore all these things happening. And then she used the example of this curse, a Puritan god made pleasure the poisonous fruit. So the fruit is really poisonous, you don't know that, but you enjoy it, and naturally you enjoy, but still behind that, in it is poison, you see. Poison. A red drug in a marketplace of death. So that is how they used to sell the drug. So she uses the word marketplace of death, you see. And sin, the child of nature's ecstasy. So this, in other words, she is, in essence, she is telling here that after all, life is based on pure joy. But something happened. Something, how it happened, why it happened, that is a different story. Something happened. And therefore on that there is a curse laid on it. You see, this Puritan god, very holy, pious, sacred, you have got your own moral ideas of life and existence and of God. And in fact, the whole philosophy of Puritanism is based on that concept, you see, which was very popular in the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe, you see, particularly. Now, this is something which is, in fact, I will say, very characteristic of a certain type of mysticism in Christian philosophy, which is not present in India at all.
But does it mean it tempts the soul to self-hurt and fall? How can
self-hurt and fall?
Yeah, 75
Yeah. Self-hurt. Who? Self-hurt. Soul itself has hurt himself.
How does the soul?
Well, because it's tempted, it tempts the soul. That is the play of the falsehood.
Yeah, but how can the soul hurt itself? The soul is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has taken that stand. It is there for a purpose, perhaps. A specious trick of an infernal power by some kind of a magic trickery, etc., power has managed to pull it back into this place. The infernal power is what is doing all that mischief. And because of that, the soul is tempted and it hurt itself and fell. Well, actually, it means that the veil is so thick that it does not see the truth behind it. It has entered into that kind of a situation where the veil has covered itself completely from the truth from which it has come. Well, it is a part of the play. It has accepted that. This we have, of course, seen last time, beauty and truth as twins. Delight and beauty as twins. So that is a secondary statement. But dreaded, therefore, because of this dread, the saint and the sage, they are also kind of drawn into it. So if the soul can get tempted, what about sage and soul? Saint and sage, they also get kind of dragged into it, you see. Because the soul itself can happen that, gets tempted into it. A curse is laid. See, I mean, this is exactly what has happened. You take take any example. The famous example, of course, of Christ himself. How have people fallen into that state? That they don't see the light which he has brought, the power, the love which he has brought. They don't see it at all, you see. The cover is so thick that the soul has withdrawn, so to say, completely into it, and something is driving them to go to that extreme. Dreaded by aspiring saints, therefore they want to be careful. Actually, dreaded by, this is a very occult statement. In fact, any person who is trying to lead a spiritual life, he would try to keep away from all these things as far as possible. Because there is something in him which can drag him into it, and the fall is there, you see. The fall is there, you see. It can happen any time, any moment, you see. Dreaded by aspiring saint and sage, is shunned, dangerous and ambiguous cheat, a specious trick of an infernal power. In fact, this sums up the whole thing. Is the trick of the power. Tame the soul. It tamed the soul to its self-hurt and fall. Now, your question, I mean, it tamed the soul. It does not mean that the soul has fallen. What this sin really is. Want to know what sin really is? Then the explanation is, go to the cross. Go to the cross, standing Christ nailed there, and then you know what the sin really is. What you have done to him. Why he has come, why he has accepted that deed. In other words, the condition is so severe, so painful, so downward pulling, that God himself has to suffer through that. Well, the original sin, we have seen the original sin, what it is. The original sin is basically the sin of separation from the divine source. And its power is such that this is what happened. So if you want to, so what sin is, go to the cross and see that the whole world, this whole organization is such that you have separated yourself completely from the divine source. A curse is laid on the pure joy of life. Delight, God's sweetest sign and beauty's twin, dreaded by aspiring saint and austere say, is shunned. So delight is shunned. Basically, delight is shunned. A dangerous and ambiguous cheat, a specious trick of an infernal power, it tempts the soul to its self-hurt and power and fall. It a specious trick. Yeah.
What infernal?
Infernal power, the power of darkness.
But it is a trick.
Trick means it has tricked. It is tricking. Yeah.
But the trick is the delight.
Yeah.
Lord,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
The delight
Yeah.
is breathed by the sin
Yeah.
because it looks like an ambiguous, dangerous cheat.
Yeah. You see, it took. Yeah.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
Oh. But it's the delight, yes. It looks like this.
Yeah.
You're right.
To give the you see, dreaded by the aspiring saint and austere, to give a kind of a far-fetched analogy, in his entire life of 82 years, Plato never smiled, never laughed. Never smiled, never laughed. Plato. Because he says that laughing, smiling makes you emotional. It means that you are subject to emotion. And emotion should be avoided, shunned. Because if you get emotional, then your reasoning gets clouded, your wisdom gets hazy. And therefore, in order to avoid that thing, you cannot laugh, you cannot smile at all, you see. You should not, you see. So that is how it is shunned. So smiling, laughing is shunned by Plato because the effect will be that you will get distanced from wisdom. You will move away from wisdom, you see. Dreaded by aspiring saint and sage, is shunned a dangerous and ambiguous cheat, a specious trick of an infernal power. Infernal power, that is the nascent power, the power of darkness itself, of inconscience. You see. It tempted the soul to its self-hurt and fall. Its own fall. Soul's own fall. And then a Puritan God made pleasure a poisonous fruit. Actually, the fall is what? We got in the biblical description. Want to know what sin really is? Go to the cross. Casting of rebellious angels out of heaven. When the angels rebelled in heaven, they were thrown back on the immortal world. And then a curse was laid upon earth at that point of time. The drowning of the world by water, that the whole world will be flooded with water, it will be destroyed, drowned. That is the curse. With the fall of the angels, there will be sorrow, suffering and all that. And then, as a result of that, there will be flood. And the whole world will be flooded with it and drowned. That is the curse which is laid with that fall. And then, of course, burning Sodom with sulfur and brimstone, you see. That is a part of the same thing. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon brimstone and fire, you see. When their rebellion took place, you see. So now this is, in other words, it is a kind of a moralistic thing. Avoid emotional, vitalistic relationships, contacts. If you do that, then a curse is laid upon you. And then the result is you will get drowned, there will be fire, you will be burnt, and that kind of a thing, you see. So that is what the Puritan God does. A moralistic God will do that kind of a thing, you see. Or red drug in the marketplace of death. Actually, the notes which I sent you morning, they give all the details of red drug and all those things are there in that, you see. Red drug in the marketplace of death, and sin, the child of nature's ecstasy. Yet, so in spite of this calamity, of this fall, of this sin, yet every creature hunts for happiness. Buys with harsh pangs or tears of violence from the dull breast of the inanimate globe some fragment of some broken shard of bliss. You struggle for bliss. That thing is always there. From the dull breast of the inanimate globe, lifeless globe, you buy bliss. And what kind of bliss? A fragment, a bit of it, a tiny part of it, or some broken shard of bliss. Broken shard. Actually, shard itself is a broken piece. Yeah. So what you get really is a bit of it. The whole big, beautiful vase is there, it is broken, and that little bit of it is there. That is what you buy in the market, you see. Even joy itself becomes a poisonous draught. Because, in other words, essentially, your nature is not yet ready to receive the full intensity of divine light and divine bliss. And therefore, it becomes a poison draught. You are not prepared fully. Draught, that is the wine which is brought out from a cask, not from the bottle, but from a cask. From a barrel, you see, yes. Draught, poisonous draught. Even joy itself becomes a poisonous draught. Its hunger is made a dreadful hook of fate. Whose eyes? Joy's hunger is made, so that itself is becoming a hook to drag you down, you see. Savitri's statements are really very mature, very elaborate, very detailed. The human psychology is fully present here, you see. Even joy itself becomes a poisonous draught. Its hunger is made a dreadful hook of fate. All means are held good to catch a single beam. Eternity sacrificed for a moment's bliss. Yet for joy and not for sorrow, earth was made. Now that is the assuring statement of Savitri. Although there is misery, all these things are there, falsehood is there, sin is there, everything is there. Yet, what is this earth for? It is not for the sake of sorrow that it was made. And not as a dream in endless suffering time. Earth is not a dream in suffering time. It will continue on and on and on. That there will be resurrection. We don't know, you see. It's not that. It's not for that purpose. Even this resurrection means what? Has earth really become something endlessly progressive? It does not assure that. Although God made the world for His delight and ignorant power to charge and seem His will, and this deep falsity has mastered life. Now she is telling us something, she is making a statement. She is making a statement. Although God made the world for His delight, well, obviously, an ignorant power took charge and seemed His will. This thing remains always a puzzle. He is there for all the delight. How has He, why has He allowed the ignorant power to take charge of it? This remains the most puzzling metaphysical statement. In God's world of delight, how has ignorant power entered into picture at all and allowed that ignorant power to do all this havoc?
Who is the ignorant power? It's the death. The ignorant power. Is it the death?
No. No, it's not death.
The supreme.
It's ignorant power, some power.
Oh.
It's not death. Actually, you have got here power, ignorant power and death. And ignorant power to charge and seemed His will. You see, seemed. It is not His will. Now, metaphysically, this is a very difficult statement to accept, to justify also. That if He is there full of delight and all that, then why there is suffering, anguish, pain, misery, sorrow? Why? How that can happen at all? See? And again we go back to the riddle of this world. Maurice Margry, see. And that is what Narad had already answered. And we have to refer back to him. How the ignorant power took charge of his world at all. Well, obviously, it could not but be so. It is not that the ignorant power took charge. Ignorant power cannot but appear there. When there is a complete separation from the divine source, then any activity which is there is bound to cause all this havoc. Because he had absented from himself completely, and yet he wants to bring out something out of it, out of nothing. He has to allow all that thing to happen. So actually it is not that the ignorant power took charge. The ignorant power was allowed to take charge. Was allowed to take charge, you see. Because it is out of that something will happen. And therefore, there is the will of His behind it. And this deep falsity has mastered life.
Seemed His will. It doesn't mean
He is
His will.
God, although God made.
Seemed. When He said it seemed His will. But I'm not sure if it is.
No, although God made the world for His delight, for His own delight, God made for His own delight, and ignorant power took charge and seemed His will. His means God's own will. No, I have not been clear?
No, I said if you put seemed, it means it's not sure if this is His will.
Oh, seemed. We are talking about seemed.
Like His will.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe it's not.
Yeah. It is not so, this right.
It's not sure. Yeah.
Obviously, seemed. And seemed His will. In other words, actually, how was ignorant power allowed to take charge? He allowed it. And therefore it seemed His will. When you are looking now entirely only from the point of view of the ignorant power, then it looks as if it is he allowed it, seemed his will. You see. And that's a deep falsity. Now here, again you can see very clearly, death is the cause of falsehood. It is death which has given rise to falsity, not the other way around. Falsehood is not the cause of death. That famous quarrel between Theo and Shevindu. This falsity has mastered life. Actually, the appearance of death in this creation is at the stage of the advent of life in matter. When life entered into material things, then she was stunned. Life was stunned by an ambiguous presence. That is death. A response came from the unconscious. Life is coming and wants to create beauty, joy, happiness everywhere in the material world. She has entered into material world, but from below, somebody stunned her. An ambiguous presence. Book 2, Canto 3. See? It's a very beautiful description. The glory and fall of life. Life was invited, please come and occupy this material world. And she obliged. She leaped before looking into the consequences. See? Because she is a lady, adventurous. So she leaped into it. And then she was stunned by an ambiguous presence from below. Death stunned her. And therefore, death's deep falsity has mastered life. So, in a way, it is through this itself now that life has to make progress. Death becomes, in that sense, here, the helper for life to make progress. Life by herself in the material creation cannot bring the glories of God in the material world. She has to be helped by death. And death's deep falsity has mastered life. All grew a play of chance, simulating fate. She is talking of Greek philosophy, chance and fate. Well, I have sent you some passages from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet about fate and chance, you see, how they met by chance and what happened and all that kind of a thing, you see. So there are allusions of that kind everywhere. In Savitri, you find allusions, references made to the entire literature of the world, in that sense, you see. The European literature and of course the Indian literature, you see. But fate and chance, they do not really play such a prominent role in the Indian metaphysics as is there in the Greek. Although God made the world for His delight and ignorant power to charge, so in order to justify this, you have to really write a 1000-page book, you see. How this has happened, what has happened, etc., etc. Either you have to write a 1000-page book, or you have to make one huge big canvas painting. How this has happened. A mural. All grew a play of chance and simulating fate. Now here, she has laid down the basis of her argument. Savitri has traced the entire course of evolution, involution, and how now everything is governed by death and by the ignorant power. Death and ignorant power, they are the supreme rulers in the present state of evolution, you see. But that is not really the case. She asserts that, and she makes a laud, a praise, applause of the glory of joy, of happiness, or delight, ananda. So what we are here now in the next several sentences, this whole section practically is the hymn to felicity. Ananda Sukta, hymn to felicity, Ananda. And I have given you some passages from the Taittiriya Upanishad where the joy is glorified. From Ananda we come, Ananda we live, to Ananda we go back, you see. From Ananda. Now, so this is the hymn of Ananda, of felicity, of joy. Savitri. One of the sweetest kind of description we have in Savitri. How really everything is full of joy. And Savitri is telling it to Yama, to death. Now, the description is not just a narration, a metaphysical argument that everything is made of happiness, of joy. It is not just a kind of a description, narrative, not a metaphysical argument, but why she is singing the glory of joy in the kingdom of death, then that vibration, that sound, that power, it is that which is really getting established even in that darkness, even in that world of sorrow and mortality, you see. So, her hymn is really kind of now getting established in the domain of darkness itself completely, you see. So it's not just a narration for mental understanding and reasoning, but it is having the occult power to recreate something even in the field of darkness. That is the power, that is what is hymn meant. A secret air of pure felicity. Felicity, the equivalent is Ananda, as we said. Delight, bliss.
I asked explanation.
Okay.
I couldn't understand it. You repeat many times him.
Him, stotra, sto, sukta, HYMN.
How you
HYMN.
you see? Him. He did that. I didn't yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I didn't know the word.
Sukta, Sukta, Stotra, Vedic Sukta. Now she was saying, delight, God's sweetest sign of beauty. Now she is going to focus on delight. In that hymn of felicity, her focus is on this part of delight, which means also that automatically, once this is established, this is bound to be there. This has to be there. Hymn of delight also means the invocation to the goddess of beauty. Now, a secret air of pure felicity, pure. Here, pure is not for the sake of metrical completeness. See, a secret air of felicity has only 9 syllables. You have to have 10 syllables in a line to make it pentametric. So pure is not added just for the sake of completion of the meter. It could have been any other word also. Now, pure felicity is the true delight. True delight, Ananda. It is not polluted felicity, it is not contaminated, it is not vicious, it is not vital. Therefore, pure. Yes, it is pure Ananda. Shuddha. Shuddha. That's right. Absolutely correct word. Shuddha. That is absolutely correct word. Shuddha, you can also say to some extent Pavitra. You see, pure, Pavitra. Pavitra not in the sense of pious, not in the sense of sacred, holy, which is really pure. Pavitra also means holy, pious, auspicious, you see, in that sense. It's not that. But here, purity and pavitrata is the same thing, actually. See. Pavitra, felicity. See, for instance, if I say a secret air of pious felicity, no, you don't do at all. No other word will do. A secret air of glad felicity will not do. Happy felicity will not do. For the sake of meter alone you want. Purity is the important thing. Deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. Now because it is the breath of the spirit, therefore air. Air of pure, secret air. Secret, we are not aware of it. Deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. So what is the quality of sapphire haven? Sapphire haven, really true, beautiful blue. There is a kind of a purity in that sapphire haven. No cloud, no black spot, no contamination, you see, sapphire haven. Deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. And this line, deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. See the alliteration of P, P, P. That strengthens the line, peace. I don't know whether you get that effect in French translation. No. Deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. You can see the sound of P coming repeatedly. It emphasizes the whole thing. Because that P sound here is connected with P of purity.
Which one connected to the P?
Yeah. Deep like a sapphire haven, our spirits breathe. Our hearts and body feel its obscure call. Obscure does not mean dark. Does not mean that it is secret. We are not aware of it. So this secret is connected with this obscure. Our senses grope for it and touch and lose. Therefore obscure. If you go entirely only by the senses, then the senses fail. If this withdrew, this stands for pure felicity. If this withdrew, the world would sink in the void. See, that is the power of. So because that secret felicity is there, if this withdrew, the world would sink in the void. If this were not, nothing could move or live. Nothing could move. So it is the delight which makes things move. Divine Comedy of Tante ends with that line, love that makes the sun and the other stars move. Move, he says. He's talking of love, but actually it is the secret delight which makes the sun and other stars move. There is a delight in their movement. So because of delight, the sun and other stars move, which also means that there is beauty in that movement. Delight and beauty, they are twins. So their movement itself is a very beautiful thing to happen here. Now, this is what happens when you have delight as the prime mover of things. With the delight as the prime mover, follow automatically beauty, which is not necessary so with love. If this were not, nothing could move or live. A hidden bliss is at the root of things. She is really chanting now the hymn of Ananda hymns, Ananda Stukta, Ananda Stotra. A hidden bliss is the root of things. A mute delight regards time's countless world. To house God's joy in things, space gave wide room. To house God's joy in self, our souls were born. You see, that is the whole point. So what is the purpose of our soul? Why they were born? To house God's joy in self. God himself cannot do that. It is only through the agencies of the souls that this is possible. The joy of multiplicity, of manyness, of manifestation. A mute delight regards time's countless world. To house God's joy in things, space gave wide room. Yeah, it is the space which has opened out for the delight, and then this creation is possible. To house God's joy, our souls were born. So, our souls were born for this purpose, and they have accepted in the process all the difficulties, the anguish, the suffering, death, falsehood, as a part of that exercise. This universe, an old enchantment guards. Old enchantment guards. Behind that, there is a meaning, there is a purpose. Why it is there at all, you see. The purpose is the creation of delight in delight. That's the old enchantment, delight in delight. This universe, an old enchantment guard. Its objects are carved cups of world delight, whose charmed wine is some deep soul's raptured drink. She is now really becoming very ecstatic, you see, Savitri, you see, whose charmed wine, so the wine itself is so sweet, so charming, so alluring, whose charmed wine is some deep soul's raptured drink. The all-wonderful has packed heaven with his dream. So everywhere, what do you see here? His dreams. He has made blank ancient space his marble house. He spilled his spirit into matter's sign. Yeah, you can see in matter the joy of his presence. How? You have pearls, you have diamond, you have got jewels, you have got beautiful gemstones. It is an expression of his joy and beauty and delight, you see. Even the rock, bare rock, you see. Even Karara mountain is a soul joy, you see, of being there. He spilled his spirit into matter's time. His fires of grandeur burn in the great sun. He glides through heaven, shimmering in the moon. His beauty, caroling the fields of sound. He chants stanzas with oaths of wind. His silence, watching the stars at night. He wakes at dawn and calls from every bough. Lies stand in the stone and dream in flower and tree. She is really very ecstatic, you see. Everywhere it is God's creation full of joy, of happiness. And she has traced the whole sequence. Matter, sign, sun, moon, night, then stars, everywhere. This morning scene, dream. So the whole cycle of time is also charmed with the delight here. He has made blank ancient space his marvel house. He spilled his spirit into matter's sign. His spirit spilled. So really he is much bigger than that. What you see around in matter, much more than that. His fires of grandeur burn the great sun. He glides through heaven, shimmering in the moon. His beauty caroling in the fields of sound. He chants stanzas to the odes of wind. So the wind is singing the chant, beauty of joy. The ode of wind. What are the odes of wind? That is again the Ananda Sukta, you see. Just singing. This is wind, W capital. Vayu is singing. Stanzas to the odes of wind. His silence, watching the stars at night. He wakes at dawn and calls from every bough. The birds start coming out from the boughs and calling them. Actually, early morning, around 5 o'clock or so, when the birds start coming out, when the light comes out, you hear a kind of an orchestral music or the birds singing there all the while. Constantly for half an hour, they keep on chanting. And very beautiful chants also. Ceaseless. He wakes at dawn and calls from every bough, lies stunned in the stone, and dreams in flower and tree. So where is he not? He's there everywhere. That joy, that happiness. Even in this labor and dolor of ignorance, on the hard, perilous ground of difficult earth, in spite of death and evil circumstance, a will to live persists, a joy to be, a will to persist, a will to live persists. That is true. See, we know that death is there, but we don't live because of that. We take it for granted. Okay, it will happen, but meanwhile, let me live full, proper life, you see. We don't think constantly of death, we think of life all the while. A joy to be. There is a joy in all that makes sense. Now, all the faculties of cognition which I got, manas, there is joy in everywhere. Whether you hear a music or taste something, perfume, smell, whatever it is, touch, see, everywhere there is joy. There is joy in all that makes sense. A joy in all experience of the soul. A joy in evil and a joy in good. Now, a joy in evil and a joy in good. A joy in evil does not mean a perverted joy. It is not perversion. That's something which is degraded and still you enjoy. It is not that. There is a kind of a purpose behind that, and it is that purpose which you enjoy behind it. It's not a perversion, degradation of that kind. A joy in evil and a joy in good. A joy in virtue and a joy in sin. Joy in virtue and a joy in sin also, you see. Now this of course, virtue and sin, that is again Christian. So Savitri, evil and good, see these are all things, evil and good, virtue and sin. See, indifferent to the trait of karmic law. Now she is coming to Indian metaphysics, karmic law, you see. Joy dares to grow upon forbidden soil. Its sap runs through the plant and flowers of pain. Dukkha. It is that dukkha with which Buddha was afflicted. Buddha was afflicted because of that dukkha, pain. But a sap runs through the plant and flowers of pain. It thrills with the drama of fate and tragic doom. It tears its foot from sorrow and ecstasy. On danger and difficulty whets its strength. It wallows with the reptile and the worm. So even at that low level, it wallows, it lifts its head and equal of the stars. It shares fairy dance, dines with the gnome. See. It basks in the light and heat of many suns. Of every kind, sun of beauty, joy, love, happiness. Each one is a sun. It basks in the light and heat of many suns. The sun of beauty, in fact, she is giving an example here of two suns. The sun of beauty and the sun of power flatter and foster it with golden beam. It grows toward the Titan and the God. On earth, it lingers drinking its deep fill. Through the symbol of her pleasure and her pain, of the grapes of heaven and the flowers of abyss, of the flame stamps and the torment craft of hell, and dim fragments of the glory of paradise. So she, everywhere, in every action, she sees only this Ananda. In the small paltry pleasures of man's life, in his petty passions and joys, it finds a taste in tears and torture of broken hearts. In the crown of gold and a crown of thorns. Christ, again, you see, crown of gold, Madonna. In life's nectar of sweetness and its bitter wine. Everywhere, in every extreme, it is that Ananda. Now, this is, of course, not the Ananda of perversion. That in the opposite, in the degraded things also you enjoy. That's what the varietal will do. Ugly things you enjoy, that is a perversion. But to get the pure delight of it, what is called a rasa, the essence of it, is the true Ananda, rasa. But there it looks very ugly and all that, but if you really identify yourself with it, you will find a kind of a rasa in it. It is not ugliness at all. There is some kind of an expression of its own in it also. See. A crow looks very black, very dirty, very cunning also. But if you really identify yourself, a little small band on its neck makes it very beautiful. That crow. Is it not so? That small brown band, grey band on its neck, it adds beauty to the color of the crow, you see. Life's nectar of sweetness and its bitter wine. All being it explores for unknown bliss. So anything, what it says, it explores for what purpose? Bliss. Sound, so whether it is death, whether it is ignorance, whether it is falsehood, it explores to see what joy is there behind it to make it so. Sounds are experience for things new and strange. Life brings into the earthly creature's days a tongue of glory from a higher sphere. It deepens in his musing and his art. So everywhere that expression of beauty is there, it lives at the splendor of some perfect word. So whether it is art or word, because life expression is there, what is saying here. It excels in its high resolve and noble deeds, the heroic deeds of a warrior, it excels itself. Wanders in his errors, dares the abysses bring. It climbs in his climbing, wallows in his fall. Angel and demon brides his chamber share, possessor or competitors of life's heart. To the enjoyer of the cosmic scene, his greatness and his littleness equal are. So there is no difference for him between great and little. His magnanimity and meanness hues cast on some neutral background of the cause. The artist's skill he admires who made the plan, but not forever endures his dangerous game, beyond the earth, but meant for delivered earth. Beyond the earth, but meant for delivered earth. Wisdom and joy prepare their perfect crown. Truth superhuman calls to thinking man. So this is really the hymn of Ananda, you see? And how elaborate is there. At last, that beauty, that hymn in Sanskrit is also very powerful, what I said to you from the Taittiriya Upanishad. And Shrebandu's rendering is absolutely marvelous. You just kind of loudly chant it. That's so beautiful. At last, the soul turns to eternal things. Because there is joy everywhere. In spite of this opposite, the soul turns to eternal things. In fact, that is how we are struggling everywhere, you see. In every shrine, it cries for the clasp of God. It, of course, stands for soul. The soul is clasping God in every shrine. In every shrine, it cries for the clasp of God. So, what are the shrines? In each shrine, it sees a God and it clasps that. Every shrine, you see, shrine of beauty, shrine of love, shrine of power, shrine of joy, shrine of truth, shrine of delight, of course. So everywhere it goes and clasps that particular God. See? In every shrine it cries for the clasp of God. So when you are entering into the shrine of beauty, you will clasp the God of beauty there and enjoy it, you see. In every shrine it cries for the clasp of God. Then is there played a crowning mystery. Then is achieved the longed for miracle. So when is the miracle achieved? When in every shrine you clasp God. When in every shrine you clasp God, then is achieved the desirable miracle. The miracle for which you have been yearning all along. Immortal bliss, her wide celestial eyes open to the star. Her stands for, of course, bliss. Wide celestial eye opens on the star. She stirs her mighty limb, time thrilled to the suffix of her amorous song, and space filled with a white beatitude. Time thrilled to the suffix. Sappho, who is to write love poems, Those lower points are called suffix, sapphos. And it is time who thrills in the suffix of her amor song, and space fills with a white beatitude. White beatitude, white Aphrodite. Not the sensuous Aphrodite, but the white Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, pure beauty. And space fills with a white beatitude. Then, leaving to its grief, the human heart abandoning speech and the name determined realm, through a gleaming fasting sky of wordless thought, through naked thought-free heavens of absolute light, she climbed to the summits where unborn idea, remembering the future that must be, looks down upon the works of laboring foes, immutable above the world it made. She climbed the summits. So this is bliss which really takes you to the realm of unborn idea. They are waiting to take birth, it means. They are there ready. They are not materialized. Remembering the future that must be. That is why unborn ideas are there for. That is the future of those unborn ideas taking birth here. Remembering the future that must be, looks down upon the works of laboring force. So the force which is working from below, it is upon that they are looking from above. Immutable above the world it made. In the vast golden laughter of truth's sun, golden laughter of truth's sun. The pure joy, richness of joy, the preciousness of joy, the wealth of joy, golden laughter. Brahat Hasya, Brahat Suvarna Hasya, Brahat vast, golden Suvarna, laughter Hasya, laughter of truth's sun, like a great heaven bird on a motionless sea, is poised her winged azure of creative joy. So she is really poised like a great bird on the still deep of the eternal peace. On the still deep, because of sea, deep, poised on that. In the vast golden laughter of truth's sun, like a great heaven bird on a motionless sea, is poised her winged azure of creative joy on the still deep of the eternal peace. This was the aim, this the supernal law. It is for this purpose that all is created here, all is struggling, is happening. Nature's allotted task, when beauty drenched in dim mist waters of inconscient sleep, out of the void this grand creation rose. This was the aim, that the creation rose out of the void. Out of the void the grand creation rose. For this, the Spirit came into the abyss and charged with its power matter's unknowing fold. In night's bare session to cathedral light, in this realm repatriate immortality. In this realm repatriate. Patria, that is one's own country, fatherland. Repatriate, going back to your own fatherland. Patron also comes from that, patria. Repatriate. it is what we understand in our normal course. Repatriation means the prisoners of war go back to their respective countries. That is repatriation. Prisoners of war going back to their respective country. So it is immortality which is going back to immortality in the realm of death. In death's realm, repatriate immortality. Now that is the whole purpose. In fact, this one particular sentence summarizes the entire thematic content of Savitri. What is it all this for? That immortality gets repatriated even in the depths of realm. And this repatriation of immortality, she is clarifying further by saying, slow mystic transfiguration. That is what is meant by repatriation of immortality, transfiguration. Slow, it has to be slow. Because every detail has to be attended to. Every detail has to be attended to. You can't skip anything at all, you see. Therefore, slow. A mystic slow transfiguration works. All our earth starts from mud and ends in sky. Savitri, you have told us this thing many, many times. No. All of us starts from mud and ends in sky. See, it's a monosyllabic line. All our earth starts from mud and ends in sky. And love that was once an animal's desire, then is sweet madness in the rapturous heart, an ardent comradeship in the happy mind becomes a wide spiritual yearning to space. All earth starts from mud and ends in sky, and finally becomes a wide spiritual yearning. Love becomes a wide spiritual learning. A lonely soul passions for the alone. Lonely. It feels isolated, aloof by himself. Lonely soul passions for the alone. The heart that loved man's thrills to love God. A body is his chamber and his shrine. So she is not neglecting body, that is the important thing. Then is our being rescued from separateness. When this is done, then we are not anymore separate from where we have come from. All is itself, all is new felt in God. A lover leaning from his cloister's door gathers the whole world into his single breath. So he really embraces the whole world then into single breath. Then shall the business fail, then shall the business fail of night and death. When this happens, then there is no necessity for night and death to exist. A lover leaning from his cloister's door gathers the whole world. When the whole world is gathered by the lover, then night and death need not be there, would not be there, they will fail. Then unity is one. The separateness which was there, the loneliness which you felt until now, then shall the business fail. Then shall the business fail of night and day. Then unity is one. Then strife is lost. And all is known. And all is clasped by love. Who turn back to ignorance and pain? Once that has happened. That is the culmination when everything is embraced by love itself. In other words, whatever ignorance and pain, whatever night and death had to do, that has been accomplished by this unity one. The separation which had come, that is gone, and now the manifestation will take place in that unity. Therefore, there is no question of going back to ignorance and pain. There is no necessity at all. That purpose is over, we move forward from knowledge to knowledge, from beauty to beauty, not from ugliness to beauty, not from ignorance to beauty, not from death to immortality, but from immortality to immortality, from deathlessness to deathlessness. So, Savitri is chanting the Sukta of happiness, 24 sentences, you see, about 100 lines, roughly. It's one of the longest description of the hymn of happiness anywhere in the literature. The Taittiriya Upanishad is very powerful, very sweet, very, very elevating, you see. But that is a chant. Here in this one, there is enormous amount of metaphysics, enormous amount of occult content, which is also brought out along with the chant, along with the invocation of the goddess of bliss, of happiness. O death, I have triumphed over thee within. I have mastered you, but you are still there as a person standing in front of me. In the verse she says, look, my hymn of felicity, my hymn of Ananda is so powerful that you have no argument at all any further. You can't argue anything more on that, you see. Of course, that is Savitri's assertion. That does not mean that death is going to accept that. Maybe you are chanting your own hymn, so what? Death is still a kind of a denier. He is still persistent in his role of denying the existence of God's felicity in His creation. He is not going to accept that bliss is the origin, the source, the end, the whole aim of existence at all. He is not going to accept that thing. I am there. He is going to deny that constantly. So therefore, she says, although inwardly you have accepted it, but in your action, you are not going to accept what I am telling you. You will continue, will persist in your denial. You see. Death, I have triumphed over thee within. I quiver no more with the assault of grief. Quiver no more with the assault of grief. My husband is dead, and therefore I am grieving and perturbed, disturbed and all that thing. I am not at all now. No more. The power of the hymn in her is such that she has overcome her own grief. Her hymn has really given her, to Savitri, a strength that she does not see anywhere any grief at all. A vision, a perspective that there is no grief at all anywhere, you see. I quiver no more. No more because she has now sung the hymn of Ananda. A mighty calmness seated deep within has occupied my body and my sense. So there is deep Ananda, deep calm within. Mighty calm is there. Shant. Grief has gone completely. So what do we got here? Only Shant, Shanti. The power of the hymn is to produce that Shanti. That is what the hymn will do automatically. There is sweetness, there is joy, there is beauty. But what really, when you are hymning something, what really gaining is the Shanti, the calm. So when you are reading a sukta or reciting it, you should feel enormous calm pervading throughout, you see. So all these 24 sentences, if you read loud like that, then you should feel, experience nothing but calm. A mighty calmness seated deep within has occupied my body and my sense, even the physical. It takes the worst grief and transmutes to strength. It made the worst joy one with the joy of God. My eternal love thrown on God's calm. For love must soar beyond the very heavens and find its secret sense ineffable. It must change its human ways to ways divine, yet keep its sovereignty of earthly bliss. It must change its human ways to ways divine. That is what love should do. In other words, when Savitri is chanting this hymn, what has really happened is her human has become divine. That is the power of the stotra. Until now she was talking about grief. I am no more now stricken by my grief. We were no more with the assault of grief that my husband is dead, it's gone, because my human ways have now changed into the ways divine. By the power of this stotra, by the power of this hymn. Yet keep its sovereignty of earthly bliss. That is important. Yet keep sovereignty of its earthly bliss. Yes, it has become divine, but there is a joy in this creation also. Savitri has a work to do, the divine manifestation upon earth, so it must keep its sovereignty even in earthly bliss. If a new manifestation has to take place, not only there, here. O death, not for my heart's sweet poignancy, nor for my happy body's bliss alone, I have claimed from thee the living Satyavan, but for his work and mine, our sacred charge. I want Satyavan not for living with him in human ways. My ways have now changed into ways divine. And it is for that I need, because the sovereignty of earthly bliss is something which has to be preserved and promoted. And in order to promote the sovereignty of earthly bliss, I need him. I need him. Not for my happy body's bliss alone, I have claimed from thee the living Satyavan, but for his work and mine, our sacred charge, our sacred charge. Why we have come here together, for what purpose? There is a mission behind that. To carry out that mission, we have come together. And I want him for that purpose, living Satyavan, not the spirit of Satyavan, but the physical Satyavan there. Our lives are God's messengers beneath the stars. We have been sent here under the star. In the night, in the darkness of this world, we have been sent here. To dwell under death's shadow, they have come. They, our lives. They have come, tempting God's light to earth for the ignorant rays. His love to fill the hollow in men's hearts. His bliss to heal the happiness of the world. He is God. God's love to fill the hollow of men's heart. God's bliss to heal the unhappiness of the world. It is for that purpose that our lives have come here as messengers. To dwell under death's shadow, they have come. Our lives have come to dwell for this purpose, to love, to fill hollow in men's heart, to bliss, etc., etc. For I, the woman, am the force of God, He, the eternal delegate soul in man. So she has disclosed herself, who she is, that she is the divine goddess who has taken the human birth. I, the woman, am the force of God to execute things, to carry out things. It is for that purpose I come here as the divine omnipotent force. He, the eternal delegate, soul in man. So we have been sent for that purpose. I come for that purpose here. There is, of course, a little difference between he the delegate, she is the force of God. Eternal delegate, it means that there is a kind of a passive role for him there. Passive role. Passive role. Not very active, not dynamic. Force of God, she has to do certain things to establish something. He is a delegate. What the mother says, he is a permanent avatar. Delegate where? In the inconscious, in the void. When the total separation had taken place from the Supreme Source, the divine plunge into the void. That divine plunge into the void is none but Satyavan. He is the delegate. There is a kind of a passive role because of that. Because he is there, the force of God can work, is working. He is in the grip of death there. For I, the woman, am the force of God. She says woman, W capital. Now, I don't know. He, the eternal delegate soul in man, or he, the eternal delegate soul in man. S-O-U-L. He, the eternal delegate soul in man. What do you got in the French?
Délégué de l'éternel dans l'âme de l'homme.
Soul. You got soul, you see. Yeah. I don't know. I am curious to know whether it is S-O-U-L or S-O-L-E.
I don't know what is the old version, maybe that's
Yeah.
old.
He, the eternal delegate soul, you see, he is the delegate soul in man.
But Lam is the soul, S-O-U-L.
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 Lam means the soul.
Oh, S-O-U-L.
Yeah, it's completely different. Not soul, S-O-U-L.
Oh, no, I see, okay.
Lam means S-O-U-L.
U-L, not alone.
No, it's a different
But
concept.
how did he get that?
Il put en lui, Satyavan, le délégué de l'éternel dans l'âme de l'homme.
Oh,
It's a
no.
completely different
Yeah,
concept.
yeah. So it is S-O-U-L.
Hein?
S-O-U-L.
Yes.
Yeah, it means S-O-U-L.
It's like within man's soul.
Soul. Yeah.
Within man's.
But it's not the same
This is
thing.
different. No, this is different.
Delegate soul. No, that needs to be really checked.
Translation. Sometimes we
He is the eternal delegate soul in man.
Soul,
S-O-U-L.
according to you, soul means alone.
Alone, yeah, of course, yeah.
Only delegate.
Soul in man.
The only one.
He is the only delegate of the eternal. He is the only one. And you are having the soul, then this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but maybe the also
Very, very interesting.
No, I don't have that list here.
But it's a very different sense.
Yeah.
How they
Anyway, we can check that thing. My will is greater than thy law, O death. Thy law is Yama. Law means Yama, O death. My will is greater than thy law, O death. She is asserting, my will is greater than thy law, because she is the force of God. She is the force of God. She is asserting it. Yeah. She is developing her argument very systematically. She had asserted who she is first, and therefore she is that I am greater than you. My will is greater than thy law, O death. My love is stronger than the bonds of fate. It is fate by which Satyavana has been taken away by you. Our love is the heavenly seal of the Supreme. Our love is the heavenly seal of the Supreme. I guard that seal against thy rending hands. You cannot separate us. We are united together always. You cannot separate. Thy rending hand. Love must not cease to live upon the earth, for love is a bright link twixt earth and heaven. Love is a far transcendent angel here. Love is man's lien on the Absolute. It is because of love that you are connected with Absolute. Now, her hymn of felicity has turned into the hymn of love. See? Because of felicity, because of Ananda everywhere. Love must not cease to live upon the earth. Can really love cease to live upon earth? She says, must not, but can that happen really at all? It does not. It will happen. In fact, that is the power of death. It happens, love ceases to live upon earth because of the power of death. Love must not cease to live upon the earth. For love is bright link betwixt earth and heaven. Between earth and heaven, the link is love, but because of the presence of death, that link is snapped, is broken. Love is the far transcendent angel here. Love is man's lien on the Absolute. Love is a bright link. Yeah, well, she has turned now from delight to love finally, because she is asserting the relationship between them. Now death has to answer to Savitri. This is the most famous line. Love is man's lien on the Absolute. It is because of that presence of love that we are connected with the Absolute. L'amour, pure.
In German, Liebe?
Pardon?
I mean, in German,
Yeah.
Liebe.
Yeah.
Amour in French. Amour, in Italian. Is there a name, a Sanskrit name for love?
Pardon?
Love. In Sanskrit, love.
Love?
In Sanskrit.
Prema. Prema.
Ah, yes, prema.
Yeah.
But there are several different roots, no?
Yeah, prema.
Different names, prema.
Prema.
You Simply splendid.
Sorry?
Splendid.
Yeah.
Splendid. Nothing to say.
Actually, this particular passage for Savitri reciting, you have to just keep on reading, chanting, and it will sink. You see.
Pure wonder.
It's so beautiful, so powerful, you see.
My God.
So powerful.
How powerful. So
You should read this thing along with the passage from Taittiriya Upanishad. That is also very powerful.
what you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. From Ananda we come, we live in Ananda, we go back to Ananda. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. In Marathi, there was a saint. In Marathi, there was a saint, Tukaram. Tukaram, about 300 years ago, Tukaram. His name was, he was a very highly evolved bhakta, saint. In one of his poems, he says that on the ocean of bliss are the waves of bliss. Bliss is there everywhere. Bliss is there. On the ocean of bliss, only the waves of bliss. Ananda Chai Deva, Ananda Chai Taranga.